This video discusses what makes news interesting to people. In more official terms, this video is about news values. News values are qualities of events that make people want to learn more about these events. News values make it clear which event we should cover for our audience. News values also help us write our news stories. In fact, we aim to start our inverted pyramid news stories with the facts that communicate news values. In my news writing class, I tend to cover 7 news values. This video focuses on 2 of them. These are the news values of novelty and emotions. An example used in this video comes from American Space Agency NASA. The example is about one of NASA's space exploration missions to planet Mars. Back in 2012, a car-sized rover named Curiosity landed on the Red Planet. Media covered this event and people gathered to cheer the landing. Surely so many people came to the Curiosity landing watch parties was because they were encouraged by the NASA outreach efforts, but those people would not have shown up if they were not interested in this event. So let's have a closer look at the curious case of the Curiosity rover landing. Curiosity was not the first rover to land on Mars, but it was the largest. Curiosity had to be this big because of its scientific goals. One of the reasons Curiosity was sent to Mars was to explore whether Mars has ever had conditions necessary to support life. To do so, Curiosity would need to drill Martian rocks, obtain samples, and perform laboratory tests on these samples. Previously in 2004, Mars rovers called Spirit and Opportunity landed on Mars inside a system of inflated airbags. But Curiosity was too big for that kind of landing, and because of that, a new landing sequence was designed by NASA engineers. First, the landing capsule was supposed to be released toward Mars, and the capsule's heat shield was supposed to survive extremely high temperatures caused by friction with the Martian atmosphere. Even during this process, the capsule was being guided and steered. To slow down for landing, Curiosity had to use a supersonic parachute, but the atmosphere on Mars is still not thick enough to sufficiently slow down the capsule. So, rocket engines were supposed to fire to slow down the descent. And to avoid the falling parachute, the rockets first fired to divert Curiosity to the side. It should be noted that the rockets could not land with Curiosity because the rocket engines would stir up the Martian fine dust that could have damaged the rover too early in the mission. So, to keep the rocket engines far from the ground, a sky crane with a rope would need to lower Curiosity onto the Martian surface. The sky crane and the rockets would then need to fly away to the side to avoid crashing into Curiosity. These were only some of the crucial stages of the landing process. The whole procedure was so complex that a failure at any of the stages would kill the entire mission. This is what engineer Tom Rivellini had to say about Curiosity's entry, descent and landing in a dramatic video released by NASA before the event.
Entry, descent, and landing, also known as EDL, is referred to as the 7 minutes of terror, because we've got literally 7 minutes to get from the top of the atmosphere to the surface of Mars, going from 13,000 miles an hour to 0 in perfect sequence, perfect choreography, perfect timing, and the computer has to do it all by itself with no help from the ground. If any one thing doesn't work just right, it's game over.
No wonder another NASA engineer, Adam Stelzner, said the following.
When people look at it, it looks crazy. That's a very natural thing. Sometimes when we look at it, it looks crazy. It is the result of reasoned engineering thought, but it still looks crazy.
Craziness is one of the ways to define the news value of novelty. You can also say that an event with the news value of novelty is odd, unusual, rare, or happens for the first time. In the case of the Curiosity rover, the landing was one of the kind historic event. When your local police department flies a drone for the first time, this event makes it into local news. After that, you probably will hear about that drone again only when the drone prevents a crime. You will hear about the drone when it is used to remind people to stay at home during the COVID-19 quarantine. This is because the media will select to cover a novel way to use this drone on top of its regular functions. To recap, the news value of novelty is present in events that are unusual, odd, or happen rarely or for the first time. You probably remember how Tom Rivellini referred to Curiosity's landing as 7 minutes of terror. So let's explore the terror part of this event. This is how engineer Adam Stelzny explains it in the same awesome video by NASA.
From the top of the atmosphere down to the surface, it takes us 7 minutes. It takes 14 minutes or so for the signal from the spacecraft to make it to Earth. That's how far Mars is away from us. So when we first get word that we've touched the top of the atmosphere, the vehicle has been alive or dead on the surface for at least 7 minutes.
This is what was going on in the Mission Control Center during the entry, descent, and landing.
We are beginning to feel the atmosphere as we go in here. It is reporting that we are seeing G's on the order of 11 to 12 Earth G's. Commercial 2 is starting. We are now getting telemetry from Odyssey.
Although all of these people were cheering for every bit of news from Mars, they were anxious because they were worried that the very last message will bring unhappy news. Or the last but one message. It also could be that the message they are celebrating now is in fact the last message they will ever receive from Curiosity. That is why they exploded with celebration when they've heard this.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
Members of the public also cheered. They were relieved, too. They lived through these emotions. They lived through this event. I teared up several times when I was editing this part of the video. This event touches me because it makes me happy that people who worked so hard for so long managed to do it right. If people can succeed at something that is so difficult, I can do everything I have to do too, and I can do it well. This is what makes Curiosity landing interesting to me. This is what connects me to an event that happened far away from me. To recap, events that carry the news value of emotions make us feel happy or sad or just human. The next example comes from a city of Columbia in Missouri in the United States. Back in 2015, the Columbia Police Department issued a news release about a police dog called Lear, who retired from the police department after 9 years of service. Leah was to spend her retirement with the family of her handler, Officer Ron Hall. The Columbia, Missouri newspaper offered a detail that Leah was purchased by Officer Hall and his family. It melts my heart to know that Officer Hall invested his money into making sure that this good girl has a happy life. I should add that Leah died in 2017. The Columbia Police Department announced Leah's death in a news release, and the Missourian covered this news too. Both the Columbia Police Department and the Missourian newspaper invested their resources to tell the public about Leah because both organizations knew that Leah's service and her handler's devotion will be appreciated by the audience. And this brings us to the end of this video. In this video, we've learned that news values are qualities of events that make people want to learn more about these events. We also learned that the news value of novelty communicates that there is something unusual, rare, odd, or unique about the event. Finally, we learned that events that have the news value of emotions make us feel for people or animals. Learning about such events make us feel human. This video was created by me, Yulia Medvedeva. Thank you for watching.